Good evening. We all know the power of kindness. It's often seen as one of the greatest virtues in human interactions, the glue that holds relationships, communities, and societies together. We are taught from a young age to be kind to others, to show empathy, and to help those around us. But today, I want to challenge that conventional wisdom with a simple yet profound idea. Stop being kind to everyone. I'm not suggesting that kindness is bad or unnecessary. Quite the opposite. Kindness has a profound impact on our world. It builds trust, creates connections, and nurtures emotional well-being. However, what we rarely talk about is the cost of being kind to everyone, all the time, without discretion. The truth is, indiscriminate kindness can be draining, it can lead to resentment, and it can prevent us from nurturing the relationships and energy that truly matter. Now, let's explore this idea more deeply. What happens when we prioritize our energy? And why should we be more intentional about the kindness we give to others? How can we preserve our emotional resources while still maintaining meaningful connections with the people who matter most? And so, kindness is often seen as a boundless virtuous trait, something we should extend to everyone without reservation. We're conditioned to believe that kindness, in all its forms, is an endless resource. But in reality, kindness is not infinite. It's not an endless well that we can draw from indefinitely without consequences. If we fail to recognize the limits of kindness, we risk depleting ourselves emotionally, mentally, and even physically. The truth is, kindness requires energy. It can be emotionally taxing, especially when we consistently give to others without taking into account our own needs. This isn't to say that we should stop being kind altogether. Rather, we need to understand that kindness has a finite capacity, and the way we distribute it should be thoughtful and strategic. Just like any other resource, if you don't replenish it, you will eventually run out. When we continually give kindness to others without replenishing our own energy, we leave ourselves vulnerable to burnout. This depletion can manifest in subtle ways, feeling emotionally drained after interactions, becoming irritable, or struggling to find the energy to engage in your own personal projects and relationships. The more we give without consciously preserving our energy, the more disconnected and exhausted we feel. It's easy to overlook this exhaustion because kindness doesn't always feel like a transaction. When we give kindness, we often feel good about ourselves in the moment, and that can create a false sense of security. We start to equate kindness with being good or selfless, and we tell ourselves that the more we give, the better we are. This belief is reinforced by societal and cultural pressures that idolize those who are constantly giving of themselves. But in the long term, this kind of boundless giving is unsustainable. Social networking. Take, for instance, the idea of being constantly available for others, offering emotional support, advice, or just a listening ear. These are all forms of kindness, and they're incredibly important in fostering strong, supportive relationships. However, if you are always the person people turn to, without regard for your own emotional or mental state, it's easy to become overwhelmed. The result is often burnout, where you no longer feel the ability to extend kindness because you've run out of the energy required to do so. The key is recognizing that kindness, like all emotions, is subject to the same limitations as physical energy. It requires rest, reflection, and importantly, boundaries. The limits of kindness also become apparent in situations where people take advantage of our goodwill. Not everyone will reciprocate kindness in the same way, and some people may take it for granted or even manipulate it for their own benefit. When we extend kindness to individuals who do not respect our boundaries or appreciate our efforts, we risk being taken advantage of. This is a subtle but powerful drain on our emotional reserves. The frustration that arises from feeling unappreciated or used can quickly erode the positive effects of kindness, leaving us resentful, angry, or bitter. When this happens, we might find ourselves avoiding others, becoming less empathetic, or withdrawing altogether. In these cases, kindness can turn from a source of joy and connection into a source of emotional strain. This is where the concept of boundaries becomes crucial. When we acknowledge the limits of our kindness, we are essentially recognizing that we must protect ourselves in order to continue offering the best of what we have. Setting boundaries around kindness is not about being cruel or unfeeling. It's about being discerning and understanding where to invest your emotional energy. It's about knowing that it's okay to say no when necessary, to take a step back from situations or people that drain you, and to prioritize your own mental and emotional health. In fact, understanding the limits of kindness allows us to be kinder in the truest sense. When we reserve our energy for relationships that nourish us, that are reciprocal, and that are based on mutual respect, our kindness is more meaningful and impactful. Instead of spreading ourselves thin, we can focus on building deeper, more fulfilling connections that bring out the best in us. By being selective with our kindness, we are, in a sense, being kinder not only to others, but to ourselves. Ultimately, kindness is a precious resource, and understanding its limits is a crucial part of living a balanced, healthy life. When we acknowledge that we cannot give endlessly without consequences, we can become more strategic in how we use our emotional energy. We learn to preserve our own well-being while still fostering meaningful relationships and contributing to the well-being of others. Recognizing the finite nature of kindness is not a weakness, it's a strength. A recognition that true kindness, to be sustainable and genuine, must be rooted in self-awareness and respect for our own emotional limits. Kindness is a virtue that is deeply ingrained in our social fabric. We are often taught to be kind to everyone, to show empathy and compassion to others without reservation. While this is undoubtedly an admirable principle, the reality is that kindness, when given indiscriminately, can sometimes lead to negative outcomes, both for ourselves and for others. This brings us to the concept of selective kindness, a practice of being intentional about where and to whom we direct our kindness. Selective kindness involves recognizing that not all relationships or interactions merit the same level of emotional investment. It is not about withholding kindness, but about being discerning in how we give it, ensuring that it is directed toward those who appreciate it, reciprocate it, and respect our boundaries. Landon. When we practice selective kindness, we preserve our emotional resources by focusing on relationships and situations that align with our values and needs. Not every person we encounter is deserving of our deepest levels of care and attention. Some people may take advantage of our kindness, using it for their own benefit without giving anything in return. Others may be toxic, manipulative, or disrespectful of our time and energy. In such cases, kindness can become a one-sided endeavor that ultimately harms us rather than benefits us. Selective kindness helps us avoid falling into these patterns by encouraging us to evaluate the quality of our interactions and to prioritize the people who genuinely contribute positively to our lives. and listen to instead whatever language fits the task at hand. The language of therapy, the language of self-improvement, the language of self-knowledge, the language of what is selective kindness also allows us to maintain a sense of balance and well-being. When we give indiscriminately, we risk depleting ourselves emotionally and mentally, often without realizing it. If we spread ourselves too thin by offering kindness to everyone, we may find ourselves drained, overwhelmed, and even resentful. In contrast, when we focus our kindness on those who matter most, whether they are family, close friends, or those who demonstrate mutual respect and consideration, we ensure that our emotional reserves are replenished and that our kindness is given in a meaningful way. This doesn't mean we are being unkind to others. Rather, we are being mindful of where our energy goes and ensuring that it is directed in a way that is fulfilling and sustainable. One of the key benefits of selective kindness is that it helps us build stronger, more authentic relationships. Genuine relationships are built on mutual respect, understanding, and reciprocity. When we invest our kindness in people who appreciate and respect us, we create deeper, more meaningful connections. These relationships, in turn, offer emotional support, validation, and a sense of belonging, which are essential for our mental and emotional well-being. By focusing our kindness on these individuals, we cultivate an environment where trust, affection, and appreciation thrive. This fosters a sense of community and shared purpose that enriches both our lives and the lives of those around us. Furthermore, selective kindness enables us to be more discerning about the quality of the interactions we have. Not all kindness is equal, and not all expressions of kindness are well received. Some people may reject or misunderstand our attempts at kindness, while others may exploit it for their own benefit. By practicing selective kindness, we ensure that our gestures of compassion are directed toward individuals who are likely to appreciate them and respond in kind. This creates a positive feedback loop in which our kindness is both acknowledged and reciprocated, making it a more fulfilling experience for both parties involved. Selective kindness also plays a critical role in maintaining healthy boundaries. Boundaries are essential for protecting our emotional and psychological well-being, and they help us manage the way we give and receive kindness. Without boundaries, we may find ourselves overwhelmed by the demands of others, unable to say no or take a step back when we need to. Selective kindness allows us to establish clear limits around our time, energy, and emotional investment, ensuring that we don't overextend ourselves or allow others to take advantage of our goodwill. By setting boundaries, we create a space in which kindness can flourish in a healthy, sustainable way. Importantly, selective kindness does not mean being cold or indifferent to others. It simply means that we are intentional in how we choose to express our kindness. We recognize that our time and energy are finite resources, and we must be mindful of where we invest them. This doesn't diminish the value of kindness. Rather, it elevates it, making it more intentional, thoughtful, and impactful. When we choose to be kind selectively, we are able to give more of ourselves to those who truly matter, creating deeper and more meaningful connections that enrich our lives. In the end, selective kindness is not about withholding kindness from others, but rather about being discerning in how we direct it. It is a practice that allows us to protect our emotional resources, build stronger relationships, and maintain our well-being. By focusing our kindness on those who respect our boundaries, appreciate our efforts, and contribute positively to our lives, we ensure that our kindness is both sustainable and impactful. Selective kindness is a powerful tool for cultivating a life filled with deeper connections, greater emotional resilience, and a healthier sense of self. Unconditional kindness is often viewed as an ideal, an unwavering, selfless act of compassion that extends to everyone, regardless of their actions or intentions. It is often portrayed as the ultimate virtue, a measure of moral character, and a quality that fosters harmony in relationships and communities. However, while unconditional kindness may sound virtuous in theory, there are significant psychological implications when this behavior is practiced indiscriminately or without thought. The reality is that constant unconditional kindness can come with emotional, mental, and relational costs. And these costs often manifest in ways we don't expect. One of the primary psychological implications of unconditional kindness is the potential for emotional exhaustion and burnout. When we give kindness without regard for our own emotional resources, we risk depleting ourselves. Kindness at its core is an emotional investment. It requires empathy, attention, and effort. If we continuously pour these resources into others without replenishing them, we may find ourselves drained, overwhelmed, or even resentful. The constant demand for kindness, particularly when it is not reciprocated or appreciated, can cause a profound sense of fatigue. This fatigue can evolve into what is known as compassion fatigue, where individuals become less capable of feeling empathy or care for others. This is particularly true when the kindness we offer is not met with gratitude or is exploited by others. Another psychological consequence of unconditional kindness is the potential for developing unhealthy relationships. When we are kind to everyone, regardless of their behavior or treatment of us, we may inadvertently create dynamics in which others take our kindness for granted. People who do not reciprocate or respect our boundaries may begin to rely on our emotional generosity, leading to a one-sided relationship. Over time, we may begin to feel taken advantage of or manipulated. The psychological toll of feeling unappreciated or used can lead to feelings of resentment, frustration, and ultimately disillusionment. This dynamic can result in emotional withdrawal, bitterness, or even avoidance, as we begin to recognize that our efforts are being exploited rather than appreciated. The psychological toll of feeling exploited rather than appreciated. Moreover, unconditional kindness can cause an individual to lose sight of their own needs and desires. When we are constantly focused on others, we may neglect our own emotional well-being, personal goals, and boundaries. We may suppress our own needs, desires, or feelings in an attempt to maintain harmony or to avoid conflict. This tendency to prioritize others over ourselves can lead to an erosion of self-identity. Over time, we may become so consumed with fulfilling the needs of others that we lose touch with our own values and desires. The result can be feelings of disconnection, confusion, or frustration with ourselves, as we are unable to clearly understand who we are or what we need. In addition to these emotional and relational impacts, unconditional kindness can also contribute to a sense of helplessness and powerlessness. When we extend kindness to everyone, regardless of their actions, we may find ourselves attempting to fix situations or people that are beyond our control. This sense of responsibility for others' well-being can create a heavy burden. We may feel that it is our duty to always help, support, and care for others, even when they don't ask for our help or when our assistance is ineffective. This over-responsibility can lead to a psychological burden as we carry the weight of trying to improve others' situations or make them happy. We begin to feel that our worth is tied to how much we can give or help, leading to a sense of inadequacy when our kindness does not yield the desired outcomes. Unconditional kindness can also create a distorted view of self-worth. When kindness is offered without condition, the giver may begin to equate their value with how much they are able to give. This can create a cycle in which the individual continually seeks validation from others by being overly accommodating or generous. Their sense of self becomes tied to the approval and recognition of those they help. If this approval is not forthcoming, or if the kindness is ignored or rejected, the giver may feel worthless, unimportant, or unappreciated. The lack of reciprocal validation can lead to feelings of isolation and a diminished sense of self-esteem. Another psychological effect of unconditional kindness is the potential for enabling unhealthy behavior in others. By continually offering kindness without limits, we may unintentionally encourage negative behaviors in those around us. For example, a person who constantly receives kindness without facing the consequences of their actions may not feel the need to change or take responsibility for their behavior. This creates an imbalance where the recipient of kindness is not motivated to improve, and the giver may feel frustrated and powerless. The kindness we offer, intended to help others, may in fact enable them to remain in a state of stagnation, relying on the kindness of others instead of taking responsibility for their own actions or growth. Furthermore, unconditional kindness can lead to a lack of boundaries, which is crucial for maintaining healthy relationships. Without clear boundaries, kindness can easily be manipulated. People may take advantage of our generosity, expecting kindness without ever giving anything in return. This can erode trust and create an unhealthy dynamic, where one person is always giving and the other is always taking. The system is predicated on the uniqueness of one's personality to the exclusion of the other. Without boundaries, kindness loses its authenticity, and it becomes something transactional rather than a genuine expression of compassion. The giver may begin to feel unappreciated, exploited, or even resentful, leading to a breakdown in the relationship. Waiting kills the heart and brings it to. In conclusion, while kindness is undoubtedly one of the most powerful forces in human connection, it is essential to understand that it is not limitless. By recognizing the boundaries of kindness, we protect our emotional well-being, allowing us to continue giving in a way that is sustainable and meaningful. Selective kindness, rather than indiscriminate generosity, ensures that our energy is invested where it can foster genuine, reciprocal relationships that nourish us. Respectable simplicity. It's about being intentional about knowing that sometimes, to be kind to others, we must first be kind to ourselves. The psychological implications of offering unconditional kindness to everyone highlight the importance of setting boundaries, protecting our mental health, and preserving our sense of self. Kindness should not be a source of exhaustion or resentment, nor should it enable unhealthy behaviors in others. Instead, kindness should be a thoughtful, empowering choice that enhances both our lives and the lives of those we engage with. So, as you leave here today, remember this. True kindness is not about giving endlessly to everyone. It's about being mindful of when and how you offer your care and compassion, Choose your moments wisely. Invest in the relationships that are mutually fulfilling and protect your energy. In doing so, you will find that your kindness not only lasts, but flourishes, enriching both your life and the lives of those who truly deserve it.